Welcome on in, everybody, to Same But Different. Did you miss us? Did you even know we were gone?
Nah, we're ghosts.
Ghost? Ghost?
We took a week off because we're adult boys and we had adult boy things to do. But we're back and we're coming in hot with Winnie-the-Pooh, Blood and Honey. Is that what it's called even?
Yeah, you got it. You nailed it.
Let's spawn not only a sequel, but a threequel and a monster universe, which is on its way. The Pooniverse.
I can't believe they called it that. I absolutely can't believe it.
It's the best thing they could have called it.
How do you review a movie like this? It's super low budget. It's intentionally ridiculous. It was made because it's a cool, fun thing to do. Rather than it being a quote-unquote good idea, I feel like it was intentionally made to just be ridiculous and just fun and cool. How do you review a movie like this? The only way I know how. Let's break it down. Okay, acting. Not as terrible as I expected it to be. It was still bad and nowhere near good, but not as bad as I full-on expected this to be, because I've seen some really bad B-horror movie acting.
They're eating her! And then they're going to eat me!
I would say that, unfortunately, Christopher Robin was the weakest actor.
I agree. Even he, again, wasn't like bottom of the barrel acting bad that I've seen in B-horror movies.
Oh my god!
Some lines were definitely delivered as cardboard cutouts, and it's really hard to act your way through exposition dumps, which this movie had a lot of. So I feel like the actors did their best and did not phone it in. The story... obviously so dumb, nonsensical in every sense of that word. They did their best to excuse what we were seeing. They chose a storyline that was like just believable enough in a monster horror movie for me to be like, okay, I can get behind that. Christopher Robin being the main reason why they go crazy, I think is pretty cool. I think that's a cool concept in itself. But then they eat Eeyore and then they revert back to their primitive animalistic.
As soon as they were alluding to the fact that they were going to eat one of their own, I'm like, bye, Eeyore. Obviously, it was going to be Eeyore. It was so funny.
Not much of a house. Just right for not much of a donkey.
All of it is ridiculous, but it just served the purpose of the story. What they threw in there were fine story beats for me to believe what they were showing me. Christopher Robin going back to the 100-acre woods, however many years later. Not only him going back and looking for these childhood animals he played with, that's ridiculous, but bringing along another adult person and trying to convince her that this is real, that is very ridiculous. In any other rendition of Christopher Robin growing up, like we've seen a couple, it's Christopher Robin grows up, stops believing in that stuff, and then things happen that make him believe in it again. But no, right. This adult grows up and still believes, wants to go back and find them again, and brings his girlfriend or wife into the mix to try and make them believe him as well. That is just dumb.
That's pretty dumb.
There was absolutely no reason to give the backstory that we got for our main character. There's this little story about her being stalked and creeped on in her room.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he says. Exactly. That's my point. Zero reason for that. There was zero payoff in the actual main storyline as to how that would affect her now. Sure, she has some trauma, but like it never really came through. And then on top of that, another forced character thing was having those two girls be in a romantic relationship. There was one scene where they go into their room and there's like rose petals on the bed. And she's like, oh, you didn't have to do this. And she's like, I'm not ready.
Yeah.
And then it was never touched upon again. Really forced character moments that had zero payoff. So
yeah, I don't even know which ones they were. So when they started dying, if there was a moment of her mourning her girlfriend or that being her source of revenge or something, then it would have justified that character choice. But they really just kind of force-fed you.
The directing and cinematography, whatever. I'm not going to talk to that. It's whatever. Like this movie.
There were some cool shots. I'll give it some cool shots. Nothing eye-popping, but I don't know.
Eye-popping, huh?
Oh, nice. Yeah, I did it on purpose.
There were a couple of eye-popping moments in this one. There was one really cool shot of, and it also is coupled with my least favorite moment in the whole film, where Piglet sledgehammers the girl across the head in the pool.
Yeah, I was wicked.
Everything leading up until then was the most frustrating experience I've ever had in a horror movie.
Get out of the pool, maybe?
It was equivalent to that Prometheus moment where Charlize Theron runs in a straight line for something that's falling on her in a straight line.
I hate that so much in movies.
And let's speak of the kills, because the kills are pretty cool.
Yeah.
Some of the kills, some of the gore, some of the violence was very impressive, especially for the budget that this movie had. The sledgehammer to the head, and then the girl getting run over by the car slowly.
I didn't expect to see that.
I have one moment in this that was actually so ridiculous that I laughed out loud.
Okay.
It was when they discovered that one woman who was tied up and beat up and she was bleeding from the face. They just stood there and talked to her for like so long and had her explain her whole experience and what happened to her instead of actually helping the poor girl.
Not only that, after they spoke with her and she's like, just get me out of here, they just took the chains off her hands. Like, it cut. And the chains are just off her. She was chained up.
Halfway through their conversation, when they were just, for the third time, asks her, what happened to you? I'm like, fucking let her go. What is happening? And then by the end of it, I was like, Christopher Robin, why is he the one surviving?
I think that they did that on purpose to make a final boy instead of a final girl, and I think that's really cool. Because this was a movie about women at an Airbnb. Usually there's a final girl in a slasher like this, and they're like, let's make a final boy instead, and I think that's pretty cool. I mean, I love the trope of a final girl. I love it, but that's kind of cool.
Some final girls are cowards.
Final statement, overall, wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be. Wasn't as bad as some of the reviews I've seen. It was still terrible. 3.5 out of 10.
Okay. All right.
Not trash, garbage, dog water, but still not a great movie.
3.5 honey pots.
What'd you think about it?
I agree with you on a lot of your points. This movie was not as bad as people made it out to be. Was it good? No. Was it bad? Yeah. Was it garbage? No.
Garbage. Okay, give me garbage.
It was not garbage. There's a lot to consider, and going through my review, it's gonna sound like there's more good than bad. I didn't like it. It was filmed in 8 days for less than $100,000.
Craziness.
That alone allows them to miss a lot of their marks. For a crew to simply make this because it became public domain, it could have been a lot worse.
Could have been worse, John.
They at least put effort into making this and didn't just make it so they could make it. I mean, that is what they did, but then they tried, at least. And even some of the scenes where, like, Pooh, it's just so funny. That's one of my points, is him yelling, please, Piglet, no, Piglet, don't, was so funny. I can't even talk about these characters without laughing, but some of the scenes where Winnie-the-Pooh was like looming over them and they were hiding, and the music, the score, the sound design was well done in its own little indie way, you know? Obligatory boobies for absolutely no reason.
I mean, that's horror movie 101.
Boobies?
Like, not even the hot tub scene where they could have justified it. He just ripped her shirt off in the barn at one point for no reason. Classic B-movie slasher. Loved that. Like I said, I liked the score and the soundtrack. I think it was really well done for this. They should have saved that weird choir thing that kept happening until the climax. That should have happened once.
Agreed.
I think that the intro of this movie was really, really cool. The little black and white drawings kind of setting everything up. It set us up for something really cool that wasn't. There were some brutal kills. There were some fun deaths. I do think, as brutal as this was, they did shy away sometimes, but it got me absolutely amped for the sequel, which is apparently like Terrifier level of disgusting.
Oh, really?
Like they really, apparently the sequel is a lot more brutal.
Ooh.
We get 2 words out of Winnie the Pooh. I understand that it needed to be gruff and scary, but first of all, you could hardly hear it. You left. Second of all, I wish they mixed the sound in so that a little bit of Winnie the Pooh's falsetto was in there. Like, just
really?
a teeny little bit of it in behind all the gruff would have been so cool.
You left.
Sure, dude, that would have been scarier. That's exactly what I wanted. Why not full body costumes? The masks were fine. The masks were really tacky. They were fine because this movie had no budget. I could forgive them for the masks, but just human bodies?
What did you want? Did you want like bear claws and like bare feet?
It looks like that's what they do with the sequel, and I guess maybe it was just a budget thing, but for them to say in that intro again, like, they abandoned anything human, just for them to wear human clothes and use human weapons and drive fucking cars.
Didn't even realize that. Oh my
It was a little weird. Just an odd choice. I think that the Christopher Robin being engaged storyline, it was the obvious choice, and I think that's why they didn't go with it. It would have been a more interesting plot to watch. If he brought his fiance out there and it was them trying to survive, maybe they could have stumbled into this house full of girls at the Airbnb, but I don't think they should have just introduced us to this to take it away from us right away when it was actually the only interesting plot point in the movie. If you're gonna do that, in a slasher movie like this, it's got to be a quicker intro. They don't seem hard to avoid.
Yo, but when Winnie the Pooh started running at that one scene, I was like, yo, the bitch runs!
That was pretty cool. And clearly he can fight and be beaten up. That was, when they were like bashing his legs with tire irons and he was just holding his ground, it was cool. But overall, I mean, the movie was laughable and it was bad. And there's some scenes that stand out. I don't regret watching it. I had fun with it. Almost so bad it was good, but it kind of just bleeds more on the bad side. Just a little bit. So I gave it 4 out of 10.
Oh, okay. Not that different.
Not that different at all. In the weirdest way, I respect the people who made this movie, but they just missed a little too much for me. Well, that was our review of Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Did you watch it? Did you like it, or did you agree with everyone who didn't? I don't know why we enjoyed it more than the general public, but so let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. And while you're there, like, follow, subscribe, help us out, please. I was going to say and thank you, but I'm not going to thank you till you do it. So here's what's going to happen. We loved Blood and Honey so much that next week we are going to try to review the sequel. We're going to do our best to find it, and we're going to do our best to review it next week. If not, we will be reviewing it soon, and we will let you know what we're reviewing next week. That's all the cookie she wrote crumbles.
And that's the way the cookie crumbles.
So thank you all for watching. We love you. Keep watching movies.
Bye!